What if you could map the entire life of Jesus? Not just the miracles, not just the sermons, but every road he walked. Because when you put his life on a map, something extraordinary begins to appear. But there is a shadow over this map. Rome. Before we follow his footsteps, we have to understand the world he stepped into. We often think of the life of Jesus as a series of disconnected Sunday school stories. But when you strip away the centuries of tradition and look at the actual distances, a different story emerges. This wasn't a fairy tale. Jesus walked through a real and often dangerous world.
To understand Jesus, you have to understand this specific piece of earth. It is a tiny strip of land, barely 150 miles long.
If you were an army moving from Egypt to Babylon, or a merchant moving from Rome to Arabia, you had to pass through here. Two major highways dominated the landscape. First, the Via Maris, or the Way of the Sea, which hugged the Mediterranean coast. Second, the King's Highway, which ran through the high plateaus of the east. This meant that whatever happened in these hills wouldn't stay hidden. It would be broadcast to the entire known world. By the time our story begins, the land is divided into three distinct psychological and physical regions. In the north, you have Galilee, a lush, green, fertile region full of fishermen and farmers, but also a hotbed for revolution. In the center is Samaria, a rugged territory occupied by a people, the Jews. And in the south is Judea, a rocky, dry, mountainous desert centered around the powerhouse of Jerusalem and its massive temple. But there is a shadow over this map: Rome. In the 1st century, this land was under the iron grip of the Roman Empire. The local king of the Jews was Herod the Great, a man known for his architectural genius and his legendary paranoia. The local king of the Jews was Herod the Great, a man known for his architectural genius and his legendary paranoia. He built massive fortresses like Masada and the harbor at Caesarea to keep control. This was a world of high taxes, military checkpoints, and deep-seated longing for a liberator. When we drop our first marker on the map, a small town in the Judean hills called Bethlehem, it wasn't just a quiet village. It was a place of political and prophetic significance. The map is set. The roads are built. The political tension is at a breaking point. Now, let's follow the footsteps. Our journey begins not in a palace, but on a 90-mile trek through the heart of the Judean wilderness. Because of a Roman census, a young couple, Mary and Joseph, had to travel from their home in Nazareth to their ancestral town of Bethlehem. On a modern highway, this is a 2-hour drive. In the 1st century, it was a grueling 90-mile trek on foot. They likely followed the Jordan River Valley to avoid the steep mountains and the potential hostility of Samaria. Think about the physical toll. 4 to 5 days of walking through high heat and cold desert nights, ending with a 3,000-foot ascent into the hills of Judea. This wasn't just a trip, it was an endurance test. When they arrived in Bethlehem, they were standing in the shadow of power. Just a few miles away, looming over the landscape, was the Herodium, King Herod's massive fortress palace. It was a literal mountain that Herod had reshaped to show his dominance. The contrast on our map couldn't be more striking. On one hilltop, you have the most powerful man in the region living in a marble palace with a private theater. On the next hilltop over, in a humble limestone cave or stable, the person Christians call the King of Kings is born in total obscurity. This proximity, the tyrant and the infant, is what triggers the next major movement on our map. After the visit of the Magi, travelers who likely used the King's Highway from the east, the map takes a dramatic turn. Warned of Herod's plan to eliminate any rival to his throne, the family flees. Look at the distance. To get from Bethlehem to the safety of the Egyptian border, they had to cross at least 150 to...
They moved through the way of the wilderness, crossing the scorching sands of the Sinai Peninsula.
This journey effectively turned Jesus into a refugee. For the next few years, the map of the Holy Land is. But the return journey isn't a simple backtrack. Upon reaching the borders of Judea, Joseph learns that Herod's son...
Notice the detour. Instead of settling in the south near the capital, they bypass the entire province of Judea.
For most of his life, Jesus' world was small. Nazareth was a village of perhaps 300 people, mostly craftsmen and farmers.
It was tucked away in a limestone basin, invisible from the major trade routes of the valley below.
But even though Nazareth felt isolated, it wasn't disconnected. Every year, devout families like Joseph's would make the long pilgrimage south for the major festivals. This meant that even during his hidden years, Jesus was a seasoned traveler, walking the dusty spine of the country multiple times a year. When Jesus was 12, the map records a specific journey for the Passover. This wasn't a solo trip, it was a caravan of extended family and neighbors.
After the festival, the group began the 90-mile walk back to Galilee.
But a full day into the journey, likely somewhere near Jericho or the hills of Benjamin, his parents realized Jesus was missing.
On our map, we see a frantic backtrack. They returned to the crowded streets of Jerusalem, searching for 3 days.
They finally found him at the Temple Mount. He wasn't lost. He was sitting among the teachers engaging in high-level theological debate. When his parents questioned him, he gave a hint of his true identity, saying he must be in his father's house. On the map of his life, this is the first time Jesus claims a specific location as his own. After this brief flash of public wisdom, the map pulls back. Jesus returns to Nazareth and, as the text says, remained obedient to them.
For the next 18 years, the map goes almost entirely quiet.
To understand the man who would later emerge, we have to look just 4 miles across the hills from Nazareth to a city called Sepphoris. While Nazareth was a village of mud and stone, Sepphoris was a massive, glitzy Roman metropolis with a theater and a forum. As a tekton, a builder or craftsman, Jesus and Joseph likely walked to Sepphoris for work. This means Jesus grew up at the intersection of 2 worlds, or Meridian, the simple Jewish life of his village and the complex Greco-Roman. The map stayed small for a reason. He was absorbing the world he was about to change. But the silence was about to be broken.
These were the years of preparation.
He learned the topography of the hills he would later use for his parables. He studied the farmers in the Jezreel Valley and the merchants on the Via Maris.
The map stayed small for a reason. He was absorbing the world he was about to change.
But the silence was about to be broken. Around 27 or 28 AD,
the map is about to explode with movement.
When Jesus left Nazareth to begin his public life, his first move on the map was a literal descent. He traveled from the high hills of Galilee down into the Jordan Rift Valleys. This is the lowest place on the face of the earth. He was heading toward a specific spot near Jericho, likely a place called Bethany beyond the Jordan, or Bethitz. By choosing this coordinate for his baptism, Jesus wasn't just getting wet. He was symbolically retracing the footsteps. Immediately after his baptism, the map takes a sharp, lonely turn. The text says the Spirit drove him into the wilderness. In Hebrew, this area is called the Jeshimon, which literally means the devastation. For 40 days, Jesus was off the grid. On a map, this 15-mile stretch of wasteland represents the spiritual forge. It's where he faced the ultimate temptations of power and bread, far from the crowds and the comfort of Galilee. This is the most desolate coordinate in his entire journey, and it serves as the foundation for his authority.